Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to AM Impact on Your Health. AM Impact on Your Health for every day. Our goal is to have you learn at least one thing to help you live better and longer. AM Impact on Your Health is heard each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney. And then with you each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9. AM Impact on Your Health, for each day you'll find current medical news, knowledgeable guests, fascinating health topics, and of course where we do encourage you to call in to join in. Today, folks, we've been having such discussions for quite some time now about frequency-specific microcurrent. You all met Shannon, had an opportunity actually to meet her face-to-face a little over a week ago. You're now going to meet the Pittsburgh embodiment of frequency-specific microcurrent. His name is Richard Finn, and he's going to come aboard with us this morning and talk about his career with frequency-specific microcurrent, as well as a whole host of other chronic pain treatment measures, and the announcement, too, that Richard Finn will be coming to the office to treat my patients with the same level of expertise he has done for so many years. So today, just sit back and listen to Richard Finn talk about his past, talk about his current and his up-and-coming future with us here in the office. His name is Richard Finn. He is a certified licensed trigger point myotherapist. However, he's also an expert in FSM, and that's why we're bringing him aboard today. So look, if with our discussions with Richard, you want to call in to ask a question or make a comment, that number, of course, will be 412-825-6262. That's 412-825-6262. And I'll give that number additionally throughout the hour. Now, schedule. Oh boy, do I have a surprise for you. I've been talking back and forth with, communicating back and forth with Ty Vincent. Of course, as you well know, Ty was with us in December, January, and as all good things come in threes, we have him scheduled, and we're anticipating scheduling him for his third visit. Now, I wrestle with this a bit, but guess where we stand with Dr. Ty Vincent? He will be our, and get a load of this, live guest on Friday. He has decided that he's going to take the plunge, and at 3 a.m. in the morning, his time in Alaska, he's going to come aboard and spend the live hour with us. It's a perfect way to cap off the trilogy on LDI, which is low-dose immunotherapy. Part 3, therefore, will be on Friday. Dr. Ty Vincent, if you have questions for him, if you want to ask him questions, it's the very reason he's battling to do this show live, to give you the opportunity, Pittsburgh, to ask him things that you'd like to. So how about jotting those things down? Look forward to having Dr. Ty Vincent with us on Friday morning. Yeah, it's going to be 8 o'clock our time, but it's going to be 3 a.m. Yes. Anyway, he's quite a trooper, and I let him make that decision on his own, and he said, I'm going to do it, so look forward to it. That'll be this Friday. Then next Monday, if today wasn't enough with Richard, we'll have Shannon back with us on Monday. You know, Mondays are very much a microcurrent status around here, so microcurrent today, microcurrent next Monday with Shannon. The rest of the month will fill itself up. We're looking already into March, and I got Susie Weiss coming back the first Monday, and Dr. Vava Voom the first Wednesday in the month. That's standard operating procedure for us around here. I want to thank those that I met out there at the Farm to Table tasting held at the Pittsburgh Common Market down there in the Strip District. We did our first one. They did their first one back in November. And I guess they decided to do it again, and we had an opportunity to meet a number of you who were taking a stroll through the tasting and stopped off at our little booth on Brescia, and we introduced you to that new line of drinks, a coffee, a tea, and a lemonade. I had a chance to meet you yesterday and speak with you, and you're listening today. Well, welcome aboard, and maybe you can stay tuned with us and learn more beyond the wonderful benefits of Brescia with some of the things we do around here. And in many of your cases, we actually had a personal medical discussion. You were nice to share with me, and I shared with you. So anyway, look forward to the next event held in March. I'll be talking more about the actual conference, Farm to Table conference, is going to be held at the Lawrence Convention Center, and look forward to that also, and look forward to your participation. I'll tell you all about it with Up and Coming Times. What else? Oh, this month we have 1 week from today, the beginning of our 3-day eye treatment program. We do one a month. You've been following this, I guess, for quite a while now. We are here as a representative of Dr. Edward Condra with his famous 3-day eye treatment program, where we can take on some pretty serious diseases with no conventional options even available. Things like glaucoma and macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy. But these are very much and respond extremely well to the Dr. Condra program in 3 days. And in fact, that's the miraculous thing. In 3 days, we can get these things turned around, and you can begin to gain improvements that you thought never were possible. And not only did you think it, your doctors confirmed that nothing was going to be done about it. And that was a pretty scary position to be in. Well, you're learning that things can be done, and they are done in quickly as 3 days. So if you'd like to learn more about it, this literally, today and tomorrow would be the last possible days if you're interested in the February 3-day program, so that we can get your records off to Dr. Condra. He can do an assessment, an eye assessment, and get these microcurrent devices programmed and up to us for Monday morning. The 3-day treatment program coming up in February is 16, 17, and 18. For those of you looking into the future, thinking, well, maybe that's too tight for me. I don't think I can make that. Let me give you a little peek of the March schedule. We have another 3-day one coming up, March 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Give us a call here. Talk to Sister Sarah by dialing us up at 724-942-3002. She'll fill you in on everything you need to know about it. Want you to get a copy of the article written by me, appearing in this month's, or not month, it's a quarterly, called The Journal of Lifestyle Medicine. If you hear a lot about microcurrent therapy and are a little unsure about what it is, I think I demystified it and clarified it in an article that I wrote for the publication called A Macro View of Microcurrent. I think it's sweet, it's to the point, and it exposes the basics so that you can really appreciate why microcurrent can do the things that it can do. And of course, listening to shows like today and listening to shows like Next Monday with Shannon will get you all the more up to speed on what you need to know. But I'm just pointing out to the Lifestyle Medicine Journal. The Journal of Lifestyle Medicine, I think, is the way it's captioned. Available at a lot of stores, certainly in my office, health food stores throughout the entire western Pennsylvania area. They're free. Pick one up. If you want one in our office, we got plenty of them. Come on in. What else? Oh, yes. And I got to tell you, we got a whole shipment of the books that were generated from what were called the top 20 alternative medicine doctors of the USA. This was a project I was involved with last summer, and it culminated in a really unique accumulation of those 20 docs. I was happened to be invited as one of them in Phoenix, Arizona. We had a 3-day conference out there, and each of us presented a chapter that we wrote for the book. The book, I finally have multiple copies of it. If you think you'd like to get a copy of it, give us a call here, 724-942-3002. And we can either send one out, which is to charge you for the shipping, so maybe you can just stop by and pick one up. Makes them a lot less costly. The 20 top alternative medicine doctors USA. Got plenty of copies of it here in the office. All right, let's take a short break, folks. In the interim, I want you to meet a new member of our staff here who's going to be coming to help us bring to you the most excellent care via the microcurrent mechanism we've been describing for so long. His name is Richard Finn. He will begin here in the 23rd of this month. We're going to find out about his journey and how he acquired all the knowledge and what knowledge that is concerning FSM. You know it is frequency specific microcurrent. We'll be right back in a moment with Richard Finn. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back once again to AIM Impact on Your Health. Heard here in KHB 620 each and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 8 to 9 o'clock. I'm Dr. Dennis Courtney with you today in the Monday morning version of this show. And in keeping with a theme that's becoming pretty familiar around here to all of us, the theme of microcurrent, it's only proper that we bring this particular guest to you on a Monday morning. Now, he has been involved with treating chronic pain from a musculoskeletal viewpoint for many, many years. He's also been excessively trained and has been very familiarized with frequency-specific microcurrent. What a combination, especially with this gentleman who will be coming to be a member of our staff in our office in the very near future. I thought it was time to meet Richard and let him tell us a little bit about himself and about his journey and how he arrives to the point he is today. Giving you the opportunity, Pittsburgh, if you want to call up and ask him anything that's on your mind. And the number to do that is 412-825-6262. So let's find out about Mr. Richard Finn and his journey in treating chronic pain and other aspects of the human condition. And I'm so anxious to get to him. I'm going to say good morning and welcome, Mr. Richard Finn. Thanks for coming aboard this morning.
Well, thank you, Dr. Courtney. It's good to be here.
We've known each other for a long time, Mr. Richard Finn, and our paths have intersected multiple times. Looks like a major crash has occurred in the last few weeks or so, because we're absolutely back in each other's company again, sharing as we did when we last met. But I need to bring you to meet my listeners and the people who come to see me, and let's let them find out about the Richard Finn I know about and the one I'm finding out more and more about. So, Mr. Finn, why don't you describe a little bit about your background? I looked you up on Google, and there's so many initials after your name, I can't keep track of what you really are. Maybe you can answer some of those queries about what those initials are all about. But talk to us when it all began for you, Richard. How did it start? When did it start? And with whom did it start? Take it away.
Oh, well, that's a very interesting question that I like to tell when I speak to groups because I think my biggest qualification for treating people is the fact that I was a chronic pain sufferer. I like to tell people my career actually began in a restaurant as an employee. I was a waiter at the time, and my boss came up to me one day and he grabbed me by the shoulders and he went nose to nose with me. And this was somebody that I didn't get along very well with, but he looked me eye to eye, nose to nose, and he says, "Richard, I want you to be very careful. I've got a very bad feeling about tonight." And I laughed and brushed it off, and I got on my brand new bicycle with baskets on either side because I was a college student. And I outfitted my bicycle so I could travel from work to college. And I was up in the foothills of Denver and worked a little bit into the city. So I got on my bicycle. I rode down a road that I believe had 2 lanes on either side and a turning lane in the middle. And this was about 2 in the morning. And I could hear a car coming behind me. And I looked behind me and I dutifully got in the gutter. And I figured, okay, I did good. You know, my reflectors are all up. Well, the next thing I knew, I was flying through the air. I did a flip over the top of this car, and I landed in the gutter.
Wow.
I knew to slap and roll from my judo training, and that was just kind of instinctive, but I rolled into the side of the curb, and I couldn't really go anywhere, and so I just embedded all kinds of trauma into my shoulder. And I could tell a lot more about that story, but the important thing is that that's what introduced me to the world of chronic pain. A couple weeks after that, I began having migraines and crawling sensations between my shoulder blades. And I didn't connect it with my injury because when they took me to the ER, I was lying on my back and the doctor leaned over nose to nose and he said, "Can you move your leg?" And well, I lifted my legs straight up in the air. You know, I did a full kick. And he said, "You're great. We got a guy coding in the next room. You can go home." Yeah. And so I just assumed I was okay, other than a lot of pain. So again, I didn't connect my pain, my headaches, my crawling sensations, any of that for many years until I joined the Army to be a physical therapy specialist. So that's one of those initials you were wondering about.
Okay.
Physical therapy specialist. It's kind of like, it's what a physical therapy assistant would be on the outside. And so that's what my initial training was. And so I went through that kind of training initially, and I got out. And when I left that, I began working in a chiropractic office and started using all the modalities I had used in the physical therapy training in a chiropractic setting. So at that point, I got to work in 5 different hospitals during my military training. Then I got to move into a chiropractic setting and see what they did. And then very quickly, while I was in that training, I learned about a lady named Bonnie Pruden. I picked up a book called Pain Erasure, The Bonnie Pruden Way. And it was all about trigger points. I became fascinated with trigger points. I started working on everybody I could get my hands on. And when I came back to home and began working in the chiropractic office, I saved my nickels and dimes and pennies and went to school in Massachusetts, where I learned to become a myofascial trigger point therapist. So that next initial is a CMTPT. So that means I am a certified myofascial trigger point therapist. So I got that credential. I came back to Colorado after training in Massachusetts and opened a clinic there. Really enjoyed that kind of a practice. And then I got a phone call telling me somebody would like me to possibly work with them. And so I ended up moving to Pittsburgh with the possibility of possibly working with a gentleman named Dennis Courtney.
Oh.
And we spent time in the car. We talked. We had meals. We had a really good time. And I ended up taking a different job, starting a school training myofascial trigger point therapists. So I began teaching from the Travell and Simon's textbooks. I'm sure they've probably been mentioned on your
many times.
before.
Absolutely, sure.
So I used those. In fact, when Dr. Travell died, they put together a memorial service and a little, I guess I would call it a museum exhibition of her materials and her effects. And one of the things they used was a catalog from the school that I began, which was kind of exciting. It was called the Academy for Myofascial Trigger Point Therapy, and then became the Pittsburgh School of Pain Management. So,
over what span of time is this all happening now? I get the impression you're a college student, and now you're many years have gone by. How many years worth of time spent to get you to the point where you're now teaching at a school in Pittsburgh to train others in what you learn about musculoskeletal disease? How long of a period of time was that?
Oh, let's see. I had my injury in 1980, and I began the training program in 1995. I began practicing in 1984.
Okay, gotcha. So you're
a long period of time there. I learned a lot about my own pain. I'd learned a lot about how to help other people before I actually began teaching. And now I travel around the country and even internationally teaching physical therapists about trigger point therapy.
Well, you were provided with the insight that I think most of us who work with chronic pain have learned, that the muscular component of these chronic pain problems is normally missed by conventionally trained, and only in those who are specifically trained to pick up on this usually have the successes and allow you and people that you've trained like you to really help a lot of people over a number of years. And so on your page when it comes to how meeting Dr. Travell changed my life, and it's obvious that did you know her personally? Did you know Dr. Travell personally?
Yes, I did. If she was speaking, I tried to get wherever she was. So I met Dr. Travell on a number of occasions. We had breakfast, lunch, and dinner together, and a couple other stories that were just kind of fun with small groups of people. So yes, I did know Dr. Travell rather well.
Well, I mean, she provided a light that ignited in both of us and a passion that we brought to the people that we treated. And you were moving along pretty much at the pinnacle of the high point of the myofascial world. And although I'm dying to get into that with you, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity on future shows to do so, I want to try to abbreviate that. Not that it's unimportant; it's extremely important. But something comes into your life in the use of microcurrent at some point too, and it's for that very reason that we're meeting again now, because while I know you as an expert in trigger point myotherapy, I didn't know you were an expert in microcurrent. You got to tell us how you became exposed to microcurrent, how that training went, and how you found it to be a great adjunct to that which you already knew, and how large of a role it plays in your practice today.
And I love that question. So, actually, I came into microcurrent through Shannon Dosen. Shannon invited Dr. McMakin to a conference I was at, and I heard her speak and talk, and I just mentally filed her under the category of, she uses a TENS unit, big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward a few years to 2006. So there's maybe been a 6-year lull here. I went to a conference called Focus on Pain, which was a big myofascial conference. And at that conference, Shannon was there, as was Dr. McMakin. And they had a booth set up, and my wife was with me. She was a student at my training program. She had just started, and she had a issue with a seizure disorder for many years. And we took her in, and Shannon offered to, put her on the machine, and simply ran what we call a concussion protocol. My wife got off and said, "Well, that's nice," and we went through the rest of the day without any real big deal. And in the morning, she got up and she looked at me, and her eyes were wide, and she said, "I feel like I just had a shower in my brain." That was a wake-up call, because I got to tell you, we had taken her to, tried a number of different things, but that was just something I had never heard her say before. So I immediately signed up to take a course 10 days later.
So who is, and I think I know the answer, but I'd love my listeners to find out, who in the heck, we know Shannon, who is Carol McMakin?
Dr. McMakin is a woman who, she was a chiropractic physician in Washington State, who basically is the current developer of Microcurrent. She basically found an old machine from the early 1900s in an office that she had bought, and she began practicing with the machine on some of her chronic patients when they weren't getting better, and she figured, "Gee, I've got this thing in my back room, I might as well try it out since my normal material is not working." And Dr. McMakin started getting a really good result on a number of different chronic pain cases. So much so that after practicing for, I believe it was maybe 2 years, she decided to see if this was just something for her or if she could teach other people. So she began teaching other people, and they began getting the same kind of results also. And this was very, very early on. So I believe this was all happening in the late 1990s. And I met her in the early 2000s here, and went through the training in 2006. So kind of a ground floor thing where I was able to get in there. And again, she just had tremendous experience by the time I met her with all kinds of things. And on her website, people can learn more stuff at frequencyspecific.com. They've got studies there that can actually be downloaded to show the actual effects of things that have been studied. There is a current research study up there about treating fibromyalgia and getting absolutely tremendous results. So again, Dr. McMakin has done an amazing job of getting this modality out there. And again, she was my primary teacher in that modality. And I continue to learn as much as I can because it has made such a difference. When I came home from that training, the first thing I did was I bought what we call the big blue box.
Oh, the blue box.
Oh, it's amazing. And I was able to treat my wife. I came back and I began working on her with what I had learned. And the interesting thing we found is that she had seizures maybe twice a month, and she would oftentimes sleep for 3 or 4 days after those seizures. I mean, they really wiped her out.
Yes, great.
After using the microcurrent just a few times, what ended up happening is she still had her seizures twice a month. However, she ended up sleeping for maybe 15 to 20 minutes.
Oh, so major turn.
Essentially, microcurrent gave me my wife back, at least for 25% of the month.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that was just an amazing thing for me to see what the effects of that were in my own life. And of course, it definitely made me a believer and made me want to do this more and more with the patients that came to see me.
Yeah, because it looks as though your first encounters were with your wife. She responded so well. How long did it take before you realized, geez, I need to take this into my practice? I'm already an accomplished trigger point myotherapist. I wonder how it might, I guess, help me do that job better. Is that what you said?
Yeah, the class actually finished on Sunday, and Monday I came back and treated my first person with microcurrent. I
Oh,
didn't waste any time.
oh,
So,
you plowed right into it then.
yeah, I immediately just went full bore into what I had learned and with the modality. And it was just amazing to see some of the changes in my really chronic people that I had been treating. Because generally speaking, when we do the myofascial work, it works really quickly unless there are a lot of underlying things that perpetuate the problem. Well, the microcurrent just really sped up that treatment, a number of things. So it was very exciting to see people uh, very quickly getting up off the table and saying, I feel wonderful. And I guess the beauty I've seen of microcurrent is oftentimes people do. They get the treatment and they get up and they can feel something different. They don't have to come multiple times to figure this out. They generally know. They can usually feel something within that first treatment, and within, say, 3 to 5 treatments, what we find out is this the modality for them? And if so, then oftentimes what we can do is people actually have purchased their own microcurrent machines calibrated specifically for their problem, and then they don't have to come back over and over. They can take care of any kind of an ongoing problem, which is great. I have people coming from all over the country to see me for that.
Well, that now becomes how much of your pain practice, because when people meet you, they present a problem, and here you were trained in manual work, and then added to that this microcurrent. And as you meet patients today, and I guess you've seen an overabundance, a real large slice of people with chronic pain issues, and I know that my listeners have gained an appreciation that a microcurrent can be used for a whole host of things, not just chronic pain. But with your perspective of chronic pain, what percentage of of treating a given patient might be devoted to the manual, as well as what percentage is used with microcurrent when a particular case presents? Is it 60-40? Is it 80-20? What is it?
When I have used microcurrent with almost everybody that let me do it, and so it's been a very high number of people. I have had a few people. I would think maybe 90% of the people that would come in with those type of issues would be getting some kind of microcurrent treatment. Now, it might be concurrent with some of the hands-on treatment, but for many, many people, it's simply a matter of using the microcurrent. And the beauty of this is when the pain level goes down, this is finally an opportunity for the person to be able to move. And many, many people in chronic pain just don't move very well. And when they begin to move, they start reprogramming their brain, and it just adds to the overall effect. So it's really important, I find, to get people up and moving after they do that. And the thing is, they do that very easily. Mm-hmm. They get up, and they can oftentimes feel that something has softened, something has lengthened, and they move around differently. And that's the huge take-home point that I spend a lot of time on education with people to make sure that they keep moving, because that is huge. That is the part of I can run the machines, but I can't move for them. Once you move, it's huge.
All right, so let's ask this. People are listening to us talk right now. you're going to soon be coming to the office here, and I mean just a couple weeks from now, you're going to be seeing patients, and I want those who are out there listening to us right now to appreciate that if they have a particular medical problem, if it's pain related or even non-pain related, we know that microcurrent can play a large role in getting those things turned around. But if someone's listening to us right now, what should they expect? How does that first appointment go? How long is that first appointment? What happens during it? When and if it does, for how long does microcurrent get applied? And what can the patient expect to experience from the experience of being evaluated and treated by you?
You know, the big thing I need is when people come in to see me, I need their history. And so we give them materials to fill out so that I've got that material before I even see them. I've got some idea of what's happening. We're going to go through that history. One of the beauties of microcurrent therapy is that we take a very in-depth history to find out not only what the problem is, but maybe perhaps the situations around why it was. And that might give us clues as to things that might be perpetuating the problem. So we really, really do spend some serious time on the history, and then we do an evaluation. And of course, many people have had evaluations for many people. And what I like to emphasize about the evaluation, I'm going to be looking at people's posture, their flexibility, the state of their nervous system. And I'd like to especially emphasize to people when I do that, I'm looking for how their body is compensating, how their brain has decided to hold them. And when we evaluate that, then after we run the microcurrent, we have the opportunity to see what kind of changes there are. So, for instance, if I came in and had you turn your head as far as you can to left or right, after running the microcurrent, I'd want to see how far can you turn your head from left to right. So we are looking for people to make sure that they give us a good history. We give them a good evaluation, and then we can design a very specific treatment protocol for that person. Because the last thing that is even remotely possible in microcurrent therapy is to give everybody the same thing. This is not a place where we do that. It's a place where we really specifically try to find out, what in your body, how's your body been affected, and how do we need to intervene with the microcurrent.
Yeah, this is a fascinating part about the use of microcurrent in that there may be shoulder pain, for instance. And so on the one hand, you might say, well, that's standard. I mean, we should be able to just put some frequencies in for it. But the person's history and their unique life experiences on their childhood, on any sort of emotional issues, I mean, this takes in so many aspects, and there's a frequency component that you have to be able to assess in order to plug it in and make this thing work like a charm for them. That's completely different from the next person. Have I gathered that right or not? Because it's certainly the way I play this game.
Well, I think you're playing the game just the way it ought to be played.
No, okay.
Really need to evaluate and have an awareness of all these other things that oftentimes aren't paid attention to, because they can be absolutely key for somebody. And so it's a matter of really taking that history and looking at it and finding out, what was happening at the time that the issue developed. And then it can be intervened with. And the thing is, it's not only the microcurrent. The microcurrent's an amazing thing, but that information can have a huge effect on what you as a physician get to do also, because we start thinking about other things. And so it's really the teamwork approach, I think, that helps people. And I don't want to miss that teamwork piece either.
No, I mean, it's so important. I think that we will be working as a team to help design the frequency-specific components of each and every patient. and taking in those items of their history that just pretty much get ignored by anybody else, but because there are frequencies for every single one of those components, it turns out it's a vital part of their overall ability to respond and respond fast. And that's probably the next place I want to go with this, because I'm getting very excited listening to Shannon and listening to you. We've had discussions about this already, and I think I want my listeners to know this. Is it, how do I put this? When someone receives an evaluation and then microcurrent is applied to them based on what your and my assessment is, how rapidly should they experience the positive benefit of those decisions that we will make? Should it be expected? Here's the way I'll put it. If we've done it right, we should expect to have an immediate improvement. Did I hear this right? Because I've asked it so many times, I'm getting blue in the face. But I think it's a very important thing for our listeners to hear about how frequently things are supposed to happen.
You know, what I look for in somebody here, Dr. Courtney, is to see what kind of a change happens. The changes are often very immediate. And what we look for are what are called the characteristics of correction. While the person's laying there on the table, they will oftentimes tell me, you know what, I'm starting to feel warm. And that's always a good thing when somebody feels warmth, because that means the only thing that can cause warmth anywhere in the body is blood flow.
Sure.
So when they tell me I'm starting to feel warmth, and it could be anywhere in the body, because the body changes that quickly. So oftentimes they'll be laying there and they say, I feel warm. And then they might say something that's like, wow, I'm starting to feel softer in this area, or I'm feeling a release in this area, which is, and of course when that's happening, I'm starting to get really excited. Sometimes they don't, they're not, the person is not able to look and feel those things right off the bat. But what they do is they get off the table and all of a sudden they move something they haven't been able to move in quite, they do something they couldn't do before. And they're surprised. That's another characteristic, is that they are surprised by that movement and by the effortlessness of the movement. So I am looking for these characteristics of correction: the warmth, the softening, the effortlessness, and the surprise. And when the patient sees that, they tend to get really excited too, because that's what we see. And generally they see something like that very quickly, oftentimes in the first visit. And again, we figure we need to see this. If we don't see this kind of thing happening in 3 to 5 visits, then it's not the right thing. But generally speaking, for pain type things, we see those changes rather quickly.
All right, so someone should expect then, and I know that you use it, and I should use it too as a guide. You meet them, you examine them, you make some decisions about what frequency programs to write. The patient is supposed to be able to tell us, hey, I'm feeling that, the good thing. I'm feeling this. This is an improvement over the way I was, and we're waiting to have the patient tell us that that's happening to them, because that's the feedback we know that we have taken and has the right frequencies. And how often would that occur in your experience on the first visit, Richard?
Yeah, it is rare that I don't see some kind of a change. And again, that's because we're really targeting something. Now, again, there can be a lot of problems. And one of the issues we have to really point out with people is that, oftentimes when people come to see us, they have multiple problems. And so we'll oftentimes try to zero in on one of those issues, because we want to be able to show the person that, yes, we can do something. And we can start peeling those things away like an onion. And that's part of the detective work that's involved in that taking that history and doing that examination. The other thing that's really great with the examination is that we're looking and documenting the lack of flexibility of different areas. Well, after the treatment, we can show the person the changes that have happened. And so it's really nice to be able to do that with people.
I don't think we should ever lose sight of the fact that microcurrent is working at the level where the benefits that you're receiving are because the cells and the mitochondria and the components of the cells are actually improving. That's how you get the benefit here. This isn't masking over anything. You're actually getting a cellular improvement, and that's the only way that you can experience and have this positive experience and say, hey, that I feel better now. I feel to this degree of being better. I can do this or I can do that. It's because there's actually healing going on, because that's the benefit of microcurrent. There's a healing process underway.
That is certainly what we believe, and that's the theory underlying it. You know, we haven't gone out and dissected people to prove all of that, but we certainly have a whole bunch of people up and walking around and moving and feeling a whole lot better. So that is great, and we do have the studies that show that microcurrent certainly makes an effect in things like fibromyalgia. It makes an effect in the actual energy created at a cellular level. We have studies for that in the literature done by the National Institutes of Health. I mean, this thing wasn't quiet and done in a corner.
Yeah, there has been research done, and it is absolutely published, and you can read the papers on it. So the fact that our listeners can check us out on this one, and this isn't just like a belief thing or something where you have to believe what we say. There is the written word, there is the researched written word, and it's available for everybody's purview. So,
and that's the beauty of it, is that it's not just us. I mean, this has been done with many other people in other countries, even documenting the positive effects that actually have happened as a result of this. And I think that's something that we need to be just very excited about as practitioners, and certainly as patients, knowing that there's a lot of things that people are doing, but this is one of the few things that's been, it's got some really good research behind it by some really, sharp people, and it's available now. They can get to it.
Okay. So if I've heard now, I think two different occasions, and I'm going to call the question on it, do you feel it takes somewhere between 3 to 5 of these treatments to hit your optimal frequency and keep tweaking it until you've hit the best frequency combination for a patient, and at that point they literally can treat themselves at home? Would that be safe to say?
I think that's very safe to say. And we certainly want people to get the ability to get the freedom to take care of themselves, because that's what we're all about. We're not trying to develop a clientele of people that have to keep coming back over and over and over and over. What we want is to give people independence. We want to give them what they need, and those 3 to 5 visits helps us to, get things just right. And then if they want to get their own machine to take care of themselves, that's a wonderful thing that we fully support.
The crossover and the correlation between the area I'm most comfortable with using microcurrent has been so highly specific. It's been used with the eyes. Okay, so I've been, for many years now, treating people with serious eye problems, and I'll be doggone if it isn't happening that in 3 days, so this 3 to 5 treatment thing is sort of playing on something I've already detected that keeps paying off in big-time results in 3 days. When I'm treating a person with an eye disease that Dr. Conrad helped develop the programs for, then they go home and their treatment programs really have just begun, at day 3. They're not over. They're just beginning. And I got to say that the same possibility and potential is out there for every other condition, not just the eyes, but any other condition, whether that's a pain problem or some other organic problem. The ability to touch so many different aspects of the human condition with microcurrent, because it's current at the micro level that makes everything in the body happen, and we can just make that flow of current back to a normal flow again and nurture cells back to full functioning. The sky's the limit on this device, isn't it, Richard?
I really believe that, and it's just a matter of dealing with every person as individual to find out what do they actually need, and then amazing things can happen for people.
Well, we are so excited here now, and I know that in our conversations, we're just frothing at the bit to get a chance to work together. That day looks like it finally has come. I didn't quite realize that your trip from Denver was to come out here and see me, okay? I didn't know that long ago, but I'll be doggone if fate hasn't finally stepped in. And that meeting of the minds is going to take place, and it's going to begin soon. You're going to be coming to the office, and patients can benefit from the many years of additional training and practice that you've had, and likewise of my own. And I think the combination of the two speaks for great possibilities to come and visit us. How's that going to take place now, Richard? Are you the people who are listening to us right now? I got a feeling they can just call up and say, "I'd like to have an appointment with Richard Finn."
That would be a really good idea. They, of course, have to go through you to get to me because they have to be properly medically evaluated. And that's just a really important part of this whole piece. And what a wonderful thing to get some of the, one of the top holistic docs to take a look at you, and then to be able to move into the microcurrent therapy and combine those two approaches. That is a wonderful thing that is not available in too many markets, unfortunately.
Well, I get a feeling not very many markets at all. And there's one thing that I've heard from you, and I think that the listener deserves to hear. The one thing you requested of me, you said, "Hey, give me the right diagnosis. I'll take it from there." And that is so appropriate. If I've made the right diagnoses and taken into account these various aspects that very few doctors do, and you get that information in front of you, you now have a device to program to meet the specific needs of that patient based on the diagnosis that I make and based on the history that we both take. And with that being as accurate as it can be, the possibilities for success become exponentially doable with very little chance for error. Don't you see it that way?
That's exactly how I see it. And that's why I'm so excited about the opportunity here to work together, because it's great to have somebody who's great at figuring out the diagnostic piece of it. That is the biggest thing about FSM. When we get that diagnosis right, it's so much easier to do the frequency stuff the right way.
Yeah, because you have to have the frequency pair has to be tissue and the issue. I mean, it's got to be, the pathology's got to be right, and the target organs have to be right, and that sometimes has a nuance to it that's missed by many. But the microcurrent machine is so vast because it can take all that in. If one just listens and examines and comes up with those little tweaky things, then this program can be so specific it can nail it on day one. And we'd be waiting to hear that from a patient too on day one, knowing we hit it right out of the chute.
And that is exactly what I'm expecting to hear.
Well, I'm looking forward to getting our relationship going, Richard. Of course, Shannon's going to be with us next week on the show. On the 23rd, you're going to be here at the office. We are going to launch a brand new aspect of the treatment here We've been doing microcurrent, but because this has been your focus for so long, you're just a great addition to make microcurrent even better than we've been able to provide it up to now. We're not doing too bad as it is, but I got a feeling our results are going to go through the roof with your participation. And I want to thank you. Well, we thank Shannon for reintroducing us, huh? It's back to Shannon again, isn't it?
Yeah, I think all roads go back to Shannon. We've been friends for many, many years.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for coming aboard this morning. I want to thank you for becoming a member here of our staff, and look forward to talking to you more and more, both on a one-on-one basis, and keep bringing you back on the show to let our listeners know as we get successes, we're going to share them with every single one of them. And folks, if you think you'd like to be assessed by this duo, this combination we're talking about with myself and Mr. Richard Finn, give us a call here at 724-942-3002, and we'll put you on our list to be seen as soon as possible. Well, it's right at the crescendo moment. Those three blasts say Bill is saying it's our time out of here. Richard, thank you so much for coming aboard this morning. We'll be talking very near future, and we'll be seeing you here in the office coming up on the 23rd.
Looking forward to that.
All right, there you have it, folks. Mr. Richard Finn has now been introduced to you, a myofascial and microcurrent expert, soon to be here at the Courtney Medical Clinic. So have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday. Till then, so long for AIM Impact on Your Health.
Insights that Richard Finn gave.